you want to start with the orientation of why the heck we're getting together here?
Yeah. This all started actually as a presentation Gigi and I were going to do related to music cities at South by Southwest.
Do you want to tell who you are first?
I thought I said that. Oh, I am Storm Gloor, and I'm with CU Denver, College of Arts and Media there, and I teach music business classes there.
And a city councilman.
Thank you. And I'm a city councilman for the city of Glendale, Colorado. And thank you for that reminder, Gigi. But we were planning on maybe presenting the research that we didn't get to present at South by Southwest in a virtual environment. And we invited also a few friends who also do Music Cities work to join in. And, we were looking at 3 or 4 hours. But as we reached out to organizations and friends and all of that, we found that there was, especially as COVID-19 entered our country and started canceling a lot of shows and events around music and stores, and we all went into, safe spaces, then we saw we needed to shift this to a program about how the music ecosystem has been affected by COVID-19. And how can we be resilient? And that shifted our focus, and that meant that we needed to involve experts like the folks you're going to hear from real soon, who look at these things in a different way. And what we also saw is that this is a worldwide thing. So we reached out internationally, and the next thing you know, to accommodate time zones and to get this all together, we turned into a 25-hour event. And it's taken a lot of work, but as we've seen the list of what we have, about 100 speakers now, Gigi?
I think south of that, but yeah, we've got a large number of really great voices.
There. Yeah, so we can't say no to putting this type of forum together to address this very, very important and timely issue. So I'll turn it back over to you, Gigi.
Zoom is a difficult and challenging medium, so we're glad to be on it. We know that there's challenges from it. We also know that for a lot of people that they're incredibly busy right now, so thank you very much for being part of this. My name is Gigi Johnson. I'm on faculty at UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music, and I want to thank both Herb Alpert School and CU Denver for being tolerant of Storm and I working on a lot of this, though we did a lot of this in our outside time with great folks. I want to say, though, that we're all speaking the whole 23, almost, but not really, contiguous hours from our own personal perspectives. So these are not company perspectives or what's coming from our official organization. These are people talking as people about what they are seeing and experiencing and doing in their communities. Some people may be choosing to speak as their organizations, as there's amazing organizations who are working in this space. But I just wanted to frame that. Frame the second thing, that we kind of didn't get to one of our intents. We started out thinking we were going to do this last week, and we're going to do it for, 5 hours, and more people came to the table, and we are not including all the voices we should have in this, and we know that very well, that we do not have anywhere near the diversity of conversation we want to have here, and we also are missing whole slugs of people in music that are not on panels represented in conversation. So consider this a really rough draft that is kind of friends of friends of friends, and people who said, you should talk to Joe, you should talk to Juan, you should talk to whoever it is that is doing work in the world. So we do know this is a somewhat but not fabulously diverse group, and that we're missing whole conversations here. So we'll talk later in this whole proceedings of trying to bring people back together and create some connective tissue, but we're quite well aware that we are not as diverse as this conversation should be. It is diverse across the globe. We're still missing some continents and some countries, and we still are then not diverse within necessarily those conversations. So want to be clear on that. Another is we're going to be speaking from all sorts of points of view. So think of it, I'm a narrative and metaphor junkie. That's some of my line of work. With the Marymount Institute for about 15 years, doing lots of projects looking at how we teach and how we talk about this stuff. That's where I hang my hat, is looking at how we storytell about the future, and we're like hip deep in that right now. So you'll hear a wide variety of stories. And so they're everyone's lived experiences right now. So great follow-up. We're going to follow up not here in Zoom, but we're going to have follow-up in Slack. So you should have, if you came in via Eventbrite, I sent it again about a half an hour ago, an invitation to come into Slack. The problem with Zoom is that the conversations end when the session ends and go off into the ether. And so this is a way to keep the connections going and talk in that space. But not everyone is technologically yet into Slack or other equivalent tools. We're going to announce another possible tool at the end of the conference and send that out. But that's trying to figure out how to make this work with, 3-4 weeks notice on our side for as inexpensively as possible and with a diverse set of volunteers. I want to thank one of our folks on the next panel, I should say 2 of them. I would like to thank Majestic Collaborations and Matt and Molly for coming early on and saying, you guys need help, and lending in Cassie and Allie. They have been marvelous. And Cassie, who normally is an event manager, marketer extraordinaire, has picked up and stepped into the breach. So if you've been talking to somebody in the back end, you don't know who it is, it possibly has been Cassie. And I also want to thank Alex Dolvin, who started this as an internship and is doing most of the tech on the back end. So very gigantic thanks to Alex. And as I think I joked in some email recently, that we're going to help him find the highest bidder when we're done all of this for a job when he graduates in June.
Yeah, he rocks.
He rocks.
Cassie.
So I want to thank you all for being with us today. For your technology pleasure, there's 2 ways to communicate with panels. And I'm very concerned about being Zoom bombed. So you'll think that I'm very paranoid. I am. I've been on 2 Zoom bomb sessions, and they're an adventure I was trying to avoid. So in the chat bar, if you've used Zoom before, there is a chat bar that says chat, looks like a bubble. And I'll try to describe sometimes what things look like on a PC. On a Mac, it's a different color scheme and the whole other thing. And if you're on your phone, other stuff. But there is a bubble-looking box, and it takes you to the chat. It is set now to reach out to us. So if you'd like to make comments or suggestions that you would like to add in the chat bar, think of it as a one-way flow that we'll look at and go, oh, that's an idea we could add in the conversation. But the biggest place to do that is in the Q&A section. So you'll have something that looks like 2 bubbles intersected, and we will mostly take those in as suggestions and feed them to our session folks. And then they'll be able to say, oh, that's, we'll cover that. That's a great idea. And so we'll deal with stuff that way. But otherwise, the chat amongst people will live in the Slack channel. Storm, is that everything?
I think so. So. It's very comprehensive. And I know you mentioned some thank yous, but thank you, Gigi, for all your leadership in this. And I'll say it again. I'm Ringo, and she is John and Paul combined. She has really led this effort. And really, as we started deciding what to do after South by Southwest, Gigi, threw this idea out, and she and I have both not been great at saying no, and not only to our guests, but to each other. If she comes up with an idea, I'll say sure, and vice versa. So
and then about once every 2 days we go, can we make this a little simpler? And then we pile something else on top of it. So
yeah, we both enable each other. But thank you, Gigi. You've been a great partner through this, and I really appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure.